Chapter 5. Breaking news. Following the ascension of Talia Verse to the position of Head of State of Nala Central, she has officially declared Nala Central as the Nala Central Federation. This move follows her decision to withdraw Nala Central from the Realm Council, with many realms fearful as to what will happen next. The news was constantly moving nowadays. Big moves were being made. The televisions in the castle were always turned to the news. They were all looking for hope, but there would be never any forthcoming. In the large living room with a cavernous fireplace and wide television on the wall, Kieran Valentine was sitting on the luxury black sofas, along with Maria Lemasters, Abigail Lemasters, David Bruce and Snake Rattler. "And she definitely was huddled on the floor screaming?" queried Abigail, disbelieving what Bruce and Rattler were telling them. "Well, she was just quivering and shaking like a nervous domesticated rabbit, just released into the wild, with the snakes coming at it from everywhere," returned Snake Rattler, his gravelly voice quietly reverberating off the chamber walls. "I completely understand it. She has just lost everything, her home, her career, even her friends and some of her most trusted allies," reassured David Bruce, having been part of the board of directing admirals that witnessed the betrayal of Fleet Admiral Douglas James Verst all those years ago. "Then what do we need to do to help the Commissioner?" questioned Valentine, concerned about the need for therapists and doctors which, given their situation, would be difficult to come by. "We have to give her time. Sturnon is tough. She can get through this. We just need to reassure her and give her some space," suggested Maria. While she did not know Sturnon all that well, she knew of her reputation, and who she was from her mother Abigail, along with her now absent mentor, Mannery. "Okay, sounds good. I've worked with Sturnon in the past during my mercenary years. She's a tough brick. Always held herself responsible for things. We'll keep an eye on her, tell the others. But I don't want her getting any worse. If she does, I fear that we may have to kidnap either a therapist or a doctor," said Valentine, knowing of his leadership role within this group of rescues and ex-mercenaries. "I do hope you are joking about the kidnap," checked Abigail. Valentine raised his eyebrows and looked at her with a half-smile on his face. Getting up off the sofa, he left the living room. As he left, he turned, saying, "I may be a cold-blooded killer, but while you are all under mine and my team's roof, you are under my protection. If anyone or anything causes mental or physical suffering to anyone here, I will do whatever it takes to make it right." He left the room, going to check on the dinner that was being prepared. The others were left alone in silence as the news rambled on. In other news, there are reports of a number of realms splitting from the Realm Council, following the creation of the Nala Central Federation. Although as yet unconfirmed, its potential existence was challenged by Chief Legislator Hector Gowron, who many have looked towards following Nala Central's withdrawal from the Council. Chapter 6. The Spire Star Hotel, a soaring spiral tower in the heart of Nala Central, with 5-star rooms, 5-star facilities, 5-star breakfast and a 5-star service. Many who visited its luxurious lobby with its red velvet carpet and expensive furnishings gazed in awe as they checked in, the staff prompt to attend to the patrons in their purple tuxedos, offering complimentary refreshments. One of those rich and famous who was checking in was Julia Ratterford, flanked either side by her 2 unnamed bodyguards. "Hello, I'm Julia Ratterford, here to check in," announced Julia Ratterford at the check-in desk. The attendant then checked the register on the computer. "Yes, welcome, Miss Ratterford. Here is your key. Enjoy your stay," said the attendant calmly, handing her her key. A delivery driver walked in with a small package, ignored by everyone. Julia then started to strut to the lift to take her to her floor, stopping briefly for champagne offered by a close staff member on a tray. "Oh, thank you, very generous of you," sweetly said Julia Ratterford, drinking the bubbly and enjoying every sip of that sweet nectar. Her guards looked around, not seeing anything out of place. The delivery driver then strayed from his path to the front desk, moving swiftly towards Julia Ratterford, pulling out a loaded gun set to kill, pointing it at Ratterford. The guards noticed it, reaching towards the driver, but then there were 3 dead bodies on the floor as the Nala Central Constabulary officers in the lobby stunned the driver. He fell to the ground next to those he had executed with cruel, calculated aim. High General Commissioner Sturnon was met by a thunderstorm of questions in the press conference. How could this happen? What does the realm of Barston Bay have to say about the murder of one of their own? Who is responsible for this? All of these questions rattled around the conference hall. Sturnon raised her hand, and the press, as if trained from birth, ceased in a wave of calmness. "I would like to make a statement on the murder of the businesswoman Julia Ratterford of the Ratterford Group," said Katelyn Sturnon, in a clear voice that cut through the chatter of the cameras. "We have apprehended the perpetrator of this heinous crime, and they will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. At this time, the constabulary will not be disclosing the name of the perpetrator." The fever of questions returned to the room. Sturnon gestured to one of the journalists in the front row. "Hi, General Commissioner, now Central now. Will the perp be handed over to the Boston police force to face justice in their realm?" asked the journalist. The High General Commissioner responded, "Thank you for your question. I can disclose that we are currently in dialogue with the Boston Bay Police around this matter, though first they will face Nala Centralian justice, and then we will see from there. Next question?" She gestured to a journalist in the second row back in the centre. "Hi, General Commissioner, now the Central Times. What are the views of the Protectorate on these matters?" There was an awkward silence in the room. "Excuse me, I don't know what you mean," returned Sturnon, overcome by an uneasy feeling. "Yes, the Protectorate. It is my understanding that they are a group within the constabulary who have significant power," said the journalist smugly. Katelyn Sturnon paused, unsure of what to say next. The whispers began to build as all eyes were on her. Steeling herself, Sturnon delivered her response. "I will need to look into that. I am unable to comment at this time." The High General Commissioner withdrew from the podium, exiting the conference room, whipping into a whirlwind of questions. Speaking to her secretary, she asked to have a meeting with Colonel Heckford of Internal Affairs and Colonel Dramden, senior constabulary diplomat. Sturnon knew what was going to happen next was going to be interesting. Chapter 7. They saw the fuel. They needed the fuel. But if they set off a spark, boom! They and half the realm went up in flames. After a couple of months of hiding out at Valentine's Castle, conducting raids on recently established Nala Central Federation garrisons, the newly dubbed Freedom Team were in desperate need of polonium, a highly explosive fuel. Maria the Masters and Kieran Valentine crouched on a sheltered hill outside of the Nala Central Constabulary fuel compound. While they were focused on the task at hand, their thoughts and prayers were with their friend Katelyn Sturnon, who had taken a turn for the worse, being almost like a living skeleton subsisting only on bite smoothies. She was almost spectral, roaming the castle, having fits of screaming, while mumbling incoherent nothings all throughout the day. But they had to focus now. "Check that fuel on the right by the gate," observed Valentine, looking through the macronoculars, seeing that near the electrified gate there was a transport with polonium canister that had just been signed in. They knew that they would have to get it before it was unloaded and pumped into the fuel storage tanks. The question was, how? "There is a gap in the electric fence on the near side just below us. If we slip in there, we could get then along the fence line, avoiding the cameras and the guards, and then go either side of the truck. And there we go, enough polonium to last us 6 months, planned Maria. "Sounds good, let's go," replied Valentine. The two sneaked down the rock face of the hill, landing near a small gap in the fence, that while slightly rusted, still served a shocking purpose to keep thieves like themselves out. Maria thought how ironic it was that her, a former member of the Nala Central Constabulary, who would track down polonium thieves, was now, in fact, a polonium thief. They slipped silently through the fence and then, shielded by the large off-white tanks of polonium, made their way to the truck. But then someone came from behind them and said in a quietly cheerful voice, "Hey, so you guys planning to steal that truck of polonium?" Valentine and Maria drew their weapons on the unknown individual. He quickly put his hands up, prompting a whispered discourse between the three intruders. "Who are you?" forcefully asked Valentine, ready to eliminate the potential threat, gun still firmly pointed at his chest. "Take it easy, man, I'm Tristan Gowron," said the stranger. He then took a closer look at who he had run into and realised who indeed. "Wait, you're Maria the Masters and Kieran Valentine of the Freedom Team." "Hold on, you're Tristan Gowron? The Tristan Gowron? The son of the leader of the Order of the Realms and native Nala Centralian Hector Gowron?" questioned Maria, with her blaster pistol lowering. "Yeah, that's me. Guilty," admitted Tristan. "We don't need an extra man for this job, and keep it down," hissed Valentine, lowering his weapon, turning to keep an eye on the truck. "Well, I am in awe of you guys. I was sent to blow up this place, but to be fair, I've been looking to get out of the whole Order of the Realms for some time," jovially said Tristan, flicking his dark brown hair to the side and adjusting his mask. "So, are you defecting to the Nala Central Federation?" said Maria, worried they were going to get caught. "No, I want to join you guys!" exclaimed Tristan. "What? He is not joining us. Can we focus, please?" cut in Valentine sharply, knowing that their window of opportunity was rapidly closing. "Ignore him. I'd love to have you join us," replied Maria, who felt some strange connection to this stranger. Was it because, like her, he was the descendant of a famous Nala Centralian family? Or was it because she liked the way his chainmail-style armour sat on his green underarmour? Maybe it was his hair or his smile under his mask. Maria did not know, but she knew there was something. "Thanks," smiled Tristan, who too felt some strange connection to the accepting Maria, who despite no longer being part of the now Central Constabulary, still wore that armour with pride. He wasn't sure about Valentine. He had heard stories about him being an infamous mercenary who killed efficiently, a grim reaper with an EN-57 blaster rifle and a durellium sword. The three saw their opportunity and made a run for the truck. Chapter 8. Colonel Heckford and Dramden sat cautiously against the High General Commissioner Katelyn Sturnon, who looked at them seriously. They looked back, interested in why they had been pulled away from their duties to speak to the High General Commissioner personally. Sturnon adjusted her tie and spoke calmly and collectedly. "I have asked you both in here to discuss a matter that has been brought to my attention at the recent press conference." The two colonels looked at each other. They had both seen the press conference and appeared confused by the revelations at the end of it. "As you know, a journalist for the Nala Central Times questioned me about a so-called protectorate. Now, I am aware of the petty factionalism within the constabulary between departments and sectors. However, this does not usually go beyond the constabulary, as it is friendly competition," explained Katelyn. "So, if it is, as you say, part of petty factionalism, why bring it to our attention?" inquired Heckford, with a puzzled look on his face. "I agree with Sebastian, ma'am. Why pursue it?" added Dramden, likewise confused. "Valid questions, both of you. The journalist claims that they have significant power, but I've never heard of them. Furthermore, the Now Central Times is a credible reporting institution. Anything like this they are reporting on must warrant further investigation," said Sturnon, aware that this could be potentially nothing, but there again it could be potentially something else, something more malevolent in nature. "You're asking us to investigate this group? I've never even heard of them. I'm sure they don't exist," shrugged Heckford. While he respected the High General Commissioner greatly, he did not wish to spend his time on a wild goose chase. "Perhaps, or perhaps not. Either way, I want to ensure that there isn't anything that is going to destabilise the constabulary further," said Sturnon in a considered manner. "OK, ma'am. My department and I will look into this. I'll let you know the findings," assured Colonel Sebastian Heckford. While he thought internal affairs had better things to do, such as recruit screening, he knew if he didn't support the High General Commissioner in her early days, later on, he could see his career soon over. "I will conduct my investigations personally, ma'am. I will make sure that it is not something external feeding something internal," said Helga Dramden calmly. She wanted Katelyn to succeed. She was a good leader, something the constabulary sorely needed. "Thank you both," thanked Sturnon. The two colonels stood up, straightening their uniforms and adjusting their capes. They went to leave the High General Commissioner's office, with Colonel Heckford walking out the office. Just as Colonel Dramden was about to walk out the door, she was stopped by Sturnon. "Helga, could you spare me a minute?" quietly asked Sturnon, walking around her large oak desk, standing next to Colonel Dramden. "Certainly, ma'am. What is the problem?" queried the colonel, worried that something was troubling her. "I know that this may not be protocol, but I need you to investigate Colonel Heckford." Quietly. "I know that he is probably a good man, but he seems to have a lot of supporters within command, despite being in the most unpopular job in the constabulary. Usually being the head of internal affairs is a job for those with few supporters but who are very effective," said Sturnon, with a slight tinge of concern in her voice as they looked through the office shutters into Colonel Heckford's office, adjacent to hers. He was going through some reports with one of his officers. "Of course, ma'am. I assure you I will be discreet," assured Helga Dramden. She never completely trusted Heckford either. There was just something off about him. He seemed just like he was a little too at ease, as if he was in greater control than his position would suggest. She never could prove it or find anything to support her gut instinct about him, but if she was going to find anything, she knew she would find it now. Colonel Dramden then thanked the High General Commissioner and left the office, leaving Katelyn by herself once again. She began going through some reports. Now she waited.